In this video, I'm going to talk about some of the different engine variants that are available on the Audi Q5. Behind me is my 2013 Audi Q5 with a 3.0T engine. Now, this generation of the Audi Q5 was first offered in 4 different engine options. You've got a hybrid option, you got a TDI diesel, you've got the 4-liter turbo, and then the 3.0 T, which is supercharged 6-cylinder engine. So those are your 4 options on the Q5, and then there's also an S version of the Q5 called the SQ5 that has a tuned version of the same engine available in the 3.0T. So in this video, I wanted to go over some of the advantages and disadvantages of the different engine options, and particularly share a little bit about the 3.0T since that's what I've got. So going down the lineup, first of all, with the hybrid Q5, that was offered for a very short period. But due to low sales volumes, Audi discontinued the hybrid version. Now, the gas mileage that you got with the hybrid wasn't that much better than with the gas engine, and you paid a pretty significant price premium, and so that's probably the reason that the hybrid version of the Q5 didn't work out. The TDI was a very popular version of the Q5, and that was also discontinued. And the reason for that was due to emissions scandal with the Volkswagen Audi group. And so that vehicle is no longer produced in the United States. The 2.0T is a 4-cylinder turbo engine. It's got 220 horsepower, tow rating of 4,400 pounds. 0 to 60 time on that's going to be about 7 seconds. And overall, it's a great engine. Gas mileage is really good. You're going to be getting about 20 miles per gallon in the city, 28 miles per gallon on the highway. That's the most popular version of the Q5 in the United States. Now, jumping up to the 3.0T, what you get with that is you go from the 4-cylinder turbo to a 6-cylinder supercharged engine. Your horsepower is going to jump up by 52 horsepower to 272 horsepower. The tow capacity actually remains the same between the 4-cylinder and the 6-cylinder, and so that suggests that the engine isn't really the factor that's limiting tow capacity on the Q5. The 0 to 60 time is going to drop to 5.5 seconds, so you're going to be about 1.5 seconds faster going 0 to 60 in the 3.0. And then gas mileage obviously is going to drop. You're going to be sitting at about 18 miles per gallon in the city, 26 miles per gallon in the highway. Now, if you were to jump up even further to the SQ5 version, most of those numbers are, well, the towing capacity is going to stay the same. The gas mileage is going to drop to 16 in the city, 23 miles per gallon on the highway. The 0 to 60 time is going to drop 1 second faster than the 3.0T to 4.5 seconds. And I don't remember the horsepower off the top of my head, but it's a little more than what you get in the 3.0T. Now, the interesting thing is the SQ5, that's basically the same engine that you're getting in the Audi's S4. If you get the 3.0T like this one, it's the same engine as well, but it's a detuned version of the same engine. And so you're going to get a little better gas mileage, not quite the same performance as the SQ5. Now, when I was searching for my Q5, I looked at the SQ5 as an option, and I was searching in, let's see, 2016. The SQ5 came out in 2014. And so there aren't a lot of used ones on the market. The price premium on those is still pretty significant. And so I made the choice to stick with the Q5, and I felt like the 3.0T was a pretty nice compromise between the 4-cylinder and the SQ5. Now, I bought my Q5 in 2016 as a 2013 model, so I bought it used. And I seriously considered getting an SQ5, looked all over the country to try to find one that was within my price range, and because the SQ5 didn't come out until 2014, you couldn't really find many used ones on the market, and the ones that were on the market had pretty low mileage, and so there were pretty significant price difference between the SQ5 and the Q5. So I decided this was a pretty happy compromise between the 4-cylinder and the SQ5 to go with the 3.0T. The SQ5 is a beautiful car. I'd love to have one. However, after owning this for about a year, I think that it actually has an adequate amount of power. The SQ5 is probably just over the top for most drivers. So if you are in the market for a decide what's going to be the best option for you. In general, the 4-cylinder is going to be the car to go to for the majority of the population. Most people aren't looking for the performance that you can get with the 3.0T or the SQ5. It's just going to be a lot more power and acceleration than you really need. Sometimes I feel like this car has so much power and just wants to be driven fast, and I have so few opportunities to even get to really push it to those limits, and so in a way it almost feels like a waste a lot of the time. And I imagine with the SQ5 that would be even more so the case. So the 4-cylinder is going to be a really good option for somebody that wants, that likes a Q5 and wants something that's quick, but also balances gas mileage, ride quality, a nice quiet drive. And it's really going to offer the best package of all of that. If you jump up to the 3.0 or the SQ5, your gas mileage is going to take a hit, and you're going to have a lot of power, but it's almost more than you really need, unless you're a very aggressive driver. If you are an aggressive driver and you're looking for, a fast car, you need an SUV or you want an SUV, but you also, like driving fast and want that performance of a pretty quick vehicle, SQ5 is going to be the option to go to for you. If you're somewhere between those two, where you're looking for something that's, pretty quick, but you're not necessarily going to want a gas guzzler or something that's just like, revving to go all the time, I think the 3.0 is a really good option to go with. And I've had nothing but, satisfaction with my Q5 so far. I've owned quite a few cars in my lifetime. I'm 30 years old. I've probably had about 20 cars, just because I like to experience a lot of different things, and I've kind of made a hobby of buying and selling cars and making a little bit of money on the side. And so I go through a lot of different cars, but this Q5, I bought it to keep long term, and I love it. Everything about it is an excellent car, ton of fun to drive. Every time that I drive it, I just can't help but enjoy myself. Not only because it's just a well-built car and has really nice fit and finish, and just the appearance when you're inside of the vehicle, everything is just very, thought out. But it's just a ton of fun to drive. There's the saying about like miles per gallon versus miles per gallon, and with the 4-cylinder or the hybrid, yeah, you're going to get a little better gas mileage. But if you have the 3.0, and I'm sure with the SQ5, if you had that, every time you get in that car and you drive it, it's going to be a blast, and you're going to feel the urge to drive a little faster than maybe you should. That is one of the risks with getting the 3.0, is that it is very quick and makes it a lot easier to drive faster than you might normally drive. Now here we're going to accelerate from basically a standstill, give you an idea of what the 3.0 is like. Now right there, 60 miles an hour. So it's pretty quick. That's just in standard mode. So you've got a few different options for adjusting the acceleration in the car. This has got a sport package, which includes this drive select feature where you can adjust between comfort mode, individual mode, and dynamic mode. Dynamic mode is where you're going to get the best acceleration. So that was just auto mode that it was in right there. Accelerates even quicker in the dynamic mode. One of the things that I really like about the 3.0 is the sound of a nice throaty engine. That's one thing you're not going to get quite as much if you go with the 4-cylinder with the turbo. With that engine, it's going to make a little bit more of a clicking sound, and then you're going to have the turbo mixed in with that. So, it's not to say that there's anything wrong with the turbo. Those are enjoyable in their own way. It's kind of fun when you're accelerating in a turbo to hear that turbo kick in, throw you back in your seat, and kind of hear that high-pitched whistle sound. With that said, I think that I like the sound of the 3.0 better than the sound of the turbo, because you're really hearing more of the engine than the turbo. And the 6-cylinder's got a really nice sound to it, so pretty good quality there. One of the other advantages is if you go with the 4-cylinder turbo, because of that turbo, it's gonna kind of have a delay kicking in, and you're gonna have less linear power delivery. And so when you're accelerating from a standstill, or if you're driving at highway speeds and you pass a car, you hit that gas pedal, there's going to be a little bit of a delay, and then it's going to throw you back in your seat. With the supercharged engine, it's very linear power delivery, and so what you're going to find with that is you're not going to have that transition period there. It's going to be immediate acceleration, and once you're accelerating, it's going to be a very steady acceleration, and that comes in very, you know, or it'll respond that way if you're accelerating from a stop, or if you're driving highway speeds and you're passing a vehicle. Now, you saw it accelerate in auto mode. We're going to go ahead and we're going to throw it into dynamic, and we're going to give it another acceleration here. So we'll accelerate up to 50 miles an hour, since that's the speed limit. That's 50 right there. So I don't know how fast that was, but it was pretty quick. So the difference there with the dynamic mode is that it revs higher and keeps the revs higher, and so it'll rev higher before it shifts gears. And then you can see right now I'm sitting at about 2,500 RPMs, just cruising. If we drop this back into just like comfort or auto mode, now we're down to 1,500 RPM. So that's kind of an overview of the Q5. If you have any questions, feel free to leave them in the comments below. I'd be happy to answer anything that I can. And then if you're interested in seeing some more videos about the Q5, subscribe to my channel. I've got some more in the works.